It's an act which almost all Ghanaians rose up against. Galamsey, as illegal mining is also called, resulted in destruction of forest and polluted our water bodies and prompted fear of farmlands being unable to produce food to feed the country. It also brought Ghana to the brink of importing water, a utility which abounds in this country. Well, that campaign got everybody's attention because the media had made it their ritual, saying something about it each and every single day. Galamsey was banned by President Akufo-Addo whilst the illegal miners went into hiding. Well, just when sanity started to prevail, or so it seems, illegal miners have once again launched fresh attacks on our forest and river bodies. We'll tell you shortly about the fresh war waged against the resurgence of illegal mining. First, though, find out what Latif Idris discovered when he traveled with the lands minister to the Oda forest in the Galamsey Central District of the Ashanti region.
After 3 years of intense war against illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey, it appears the efforts are not paying off as illegal miners continue to pillage forest reserves and pollute water bodies for gold. In the Oda River Forest Reserve in the Galamsey Central District of the Ashanti region, 7 hectares of the 16,000 hectares of forest reserve have been wiped out by Chinese illegal miners and their Ghanaian counterparts. Initial suits by personnel from the Forestry Commission led to the arrest of 2 Chinese nationals who were detained at the Jacobo police station for 48 hours. The 2 have since been granted bail as investigation continues. Meanwhile, a few meters away from the illegal mine site, which had been deserted at the time the minister and his team got there, sounds of chamfine machine could be heard operating on the Oda River, lacing it with toxic chemicals. But it appears powerful politicians are behind the illegal activity. In an interview with JoyNews at the heavily pillaged mine site, District Forest Manager for the Bekwai District, Ransford Chum Damwa, said, quote, "We came here with all forces and they also had military protection. In all, 2 excavators were retrieved from the mine site, with many other mining equipment and personal effects of the absconded illegal miners being set ablaze." President Akufo-Addo in August last year assented to new illegal mining law, which pegs sentences for the illegal act to some 25 years. But it appears that is not deterrent enough. Whilst driving to the illegal mine site, the team spotted a number of excavators parked by the shoulders of the road leading to the forest. A clear indication that the illegal miners are hiding in the bushes, waiting for the minister and his team to leave so they can cause more harm to the forest reserve and the water body.
Would love to hear your thoughts on this issue. Send your WhatsApp messages to 0540-109-009. That's 0540-109-009. That's the number we'll put on your screen. But at a forum in Accra recently, Minister for Environment, Professor Kwabena Frimpong, spoke extensively about the difficulties that they have dealing with illegal miners. Listen.
Together with technical officers from the Minerals Commission and the Forestry Commission.
Rest, I would divide that into 2, Ghanaians and foreigners. So in the past, we were deporting the Chinese. But since the new law came into being that everybody should be persecuted here and given stiffer punishment, we have arrested about 15 Chinese and they are in the courts. You know, the court system, that is very frustrating for us. I know they go to court and they are bailed, and I can imagine that some of them may even go to do what they know how to do best in Ghana, and then when it's date for court, they will go to court. So it's very frustrating, and I cannot influence the court system. Sometimes even the Attorney General finds it difficult because of the way we are. So far, since the new law came, I know that we have about 15 Chinese who are attending court, but none of them has been prosecuted or jailed so far. I know that there are a few Ghanaians in jail, but I believe that we should be a little bit lenient, because some of the foreigners include West Africans from La Côte d'Ivoire, from Togo, from Nigeria, from Burkina Faso, Niger, and other non-Africans. We've found people from DR Congo who are here, and foreigners from, not only from China, but from US, Canada, some Russians, and so on. And most of the time, the non-Ghanaian West Africans are deported to their home countries. So if they go, then personally, I don't see why we should be so hard on our nationals. I think that if we punish them a little bit, impound their vehicles and so on. My answer may not be satisfactory, but these are things that are very debatable. So that's what I think. Areas where these things have been eradicated completely doesn't exist. But the point I made earlier on is that there are now about 250 registered small-scale miners who are mining legitimately. But sometimes people go to the field and they see these people, and they say, oh, Galamsey is still going on. No, these are legitimate miners who are doing their job. But if somebody is found, for example, obviously dredging the rivers and the water bodies, that is illegal, especially the use of what we call the chanfan, the dredgers. That is not legal. So this is what I'll say for now, but if you have something else to say, you can go ahead. Illegal mining has its contribution, especially with regard to mercury contamination of the soil, the water, and the air. But there are other very, very important causes. And in fact, there's a paper that was written by Professor Ansan Asare, the late Asare. He was the head of the Water Research Institute of CSIR. He published a very, very important article. I've read it about 10 times, where he outlined the effects of herbicides, weedicide. Because see, we are all applying this weedicide on our farms. And it will not only kill the weeds, but other organisms, the worms, the insects, the snails, the mushrooms, and so on. And then they will wash into the water bodies, both surface water and groundwater. And these are very dangerous substances. These organophosphorus compounds.
Minister of Environment, Science, Technology, speaking there about Galamsey. Daryl Bosu, we can now hear actually from the Lands Minister Kukwasmo, but like I mentioned, Daryl Bosu, he's the Deputy Director of Communication with Arocha Ghana. He joins me in the studio. We'll be having that conversation with him. Daryl, you're welcome to the show. But let's quickly go over and listen to the Lands and Natural Resources Minister. What has he to say about this?
Together with technical officers from the Minerals Commission and the Forestry Commission.
You think the military is the way to go?
Yeah, as of now, we have no other alternative than to use them. These miners, if you come here unarmed, you may be attacked. Yeah, no civilian can easily approach them to tell them to stop, unless our brothers in the military are here. Their uniform alone is enough scare to them.
So how soon should we expect this military deployment to this other forests?
Just next week it will happen. You see, there is one excavator.
Sorry.
Today too. There is one excavator in the... Yes, in the open pit. And as soon as they saw us, they fled.
Yeah.
It means that when we leave here, they will come back and work. So the action that we have to take here will have to be immediate. You see how they have devastated the forest. And it is not only this area. As we are being told, there are other areas of this forest.
And just to cut you, we can hear a sound in the background. We are told this is Chamfine machine operating on the river. Does this come as a shock to you, considering the fact that we've fought illegal mining for close to 3 years now, since President Akufo-Addo took over?
I have always been telling you journalists that as we close one avenue today, they open another. For we are not regular on the ground. So if we should sack them from Bekwai, they move to Apamprama. If we sack them from Apamprama, then they move to Aparapi. That's what they do, right? So where they see that we are very active on the ground at this or that forest, they move to another forest. All the forest is full of gold. So they do some small geological work, they move into work.
So immediately, like you mentioned, next week we should expect this deployment taking place.
Yes.
Do you have an idea of the number you would want to deploy?
Maybe
16,000 hectares, we are told.
Yes, if we come with 2 platoon, in military when they say platoon, it means 30 soldiers. So 2 platoon is 60 soldiers. 60 soldiers are around, nobody will come here.
But they still manage to break through even with the military or Vanguard team on the ground. They are still operating.
They are not here. Vanguard is not here. Are they here? They are not here. What the officer said was that there were some people who purportedly were in military uniform, and they assumed that they were military officers.
As the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Mr. Sumachweme, speaking to Latif Idrisu, they went out checking out these sites, looking at what is happening. Like I said, Daryl Bosu is here with me. He's a Deputy Director at Rocha Ghana. It's an NGO, an environmental NGO, which has been fighting against illegal mining and mining in the forest reserves in particular. Daryl, you're welcome to the show once again.
Thank you.
I want to take your thoughts on all of these, but before that, let me share quickly with you with some of the comments that our viewers are bringing in. I start from this one. This one says, the first law of nature is self-preservation. Human beings would always defy the rules in order to survive. I suggest the government use the Ghana Air Force instead of the ground troops. If the Air Force spots any Galamsey, they should use the U.S. Donald Trump drone method. Well, that's quite something. I'll read for you this one. It says, good afternoon, Gift. In fact, the Galamsey menace is a problem in our country. It has spoiled all our water bodies here in Suaman district of the Western North region. Galamsey is all over. And because of this Galamsey, children have stopped going to school. I pray we do not experience drought or else, or say, a semaranko. This is from Daniel in Dadieso. This one says, because Ghanaians are not serious in dealing with this issue, most Ghanaians are behind this, the Chinese who are doing this because of immediate satisfaction. There was one message that spoke about, was more like a response to the minister's, complaints about the anti-Galamsey efforts. And I would like to find that one and ask you, but let me just find out from you, Dara. I believe that this is not news to you.
No.
You've been working on the ground. You've seen all of these.
Exactly.
Did you think it was on this scale, even if you suspected Galamsey was still happening? On what scale did you think it was, and what do you make of all of these, though?
Well, I think the signs have been there. I mean, when we all started working on Galamsey, we were happy that government came in to really add the force and the logistics and the men on the ground. But I will say that in as much as we did our best, there were certain lapses that we all failed to see. And I think one of the key ones was also government itself undermining its own operations. For example, you have laws already of the states that indicates what should be in terms of deterrent measures, how you should deal with people who are engaged in some of these illegal activities. But when you actually find people culpable, you arrest them, it gets to the court, and then you see how the pushing of the court also, people are left to go and all of that. That in itself sends a certain message. And no matter how you say it, you can do the political propaganda around it. Whatever you do, it already affects the behavior of people. People will already think that, okay, this thing depends on which side you belong, you can actually do it. And if you really go down to the ground, people have been saying that it looks as if they changed the face of those doing it so that others could do it. Depends on who you are connected to, who you know, and all of that. So we have known, and also if you are really on the road, you are in the field, you are in communities, you see a lot of these rivers are still polluted. Means that something is happening. And I mean, if you listen to the minister, he was talking about the fact that we should be lenient. The laws have been reviewed. We've seen the need to review because of certain issues that are happening. So if you come again and you say we should be lenient, in a way you are saying that the law is too harsh. That also sends the wrong signal.
Okay, so initially he mentioned that he believes that there is a need for stiffer punishment for those who engage in illegal mining. That is when he brings in the judiciary and says that the judiciary is slowing down processes. So you make arrest, you take them to court, and then the court lets them go, which is something you've also mentioned. I'm struggling to find out where really the problem is, because the minister talks about the slow justice process. You've mentioned it as well. I can't really, when you go to court, the judges, will make their decision based on the
and there are procedures
facts
that needs to be followed.
Exactly. So why are we calling out the judiciary system and saying that they're not helping in the fight against Galamsey?
Well, that's what I'm saying, that you wouldn't want to put the blame at the feet of the judiciary, because you also have to look at those on the ground. So we set up what you call the District Committee on Illegal Mining. You go in there, the question is, who are the members? That is supposed to be a local level operational aspect of the Ministerial Task Force. But you go in there, I understand most of these groups are also very much politicized. So you only see a certain group of people in this group. So the work they're supposed to do is rather actually signing off concessions and giving permission to people to go elsewhere and work.
Really?
And that is where we actually need to be looking at. So it's not just an issue about, okay, going to the court and the court slow you down.
It's a politicization.
Exactly. That is a big, big issue. Because right now, like I said, they have changed faces. And nobody is talking about it. But if you really go down to the communities know what is happening. They see the complicity of people in office. They see the complicity of, say, they go and complain to the police. They see that something is happening and they don't go there and check and all of that. So verification. Now, look at it. How possible is it that mining could have been going on in a forest reserve that already has officers assigned to do regular patrols of these areas? This activity might have been going on for more than a month. If you look at the digging and the activity and all of that, and I mean, there would have been signs that the rivers were polluted right from day one. Somebody would have seen it. Was this information shared? So there is really, it's just more than just the court. There's something happening, people refusing to report, and also even those who see, because they're in a certain kind of corner or in a color, they are also not reporting as they should. So these are the issues we need to look at. And how inclusive is really the process?
How inclusive is the process is something that I want us to talk a bit more about. But let me indicate that I have Stanley Mate, who speaks for the Ghana Water Company, on the line right now, because we're looking at an effect of these Galamsey activities, which is the pollution of our water bodies. Mr. Mate, thank you for your time this afternoon. Hello, Mr. Mate, do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Very well. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Are there specific examples you can give us from across the country where you draw water to treat and then distribute to homes? Can you give us specific examples of the effect, direct effect of illegal mining activities?
Yes, several of them. And like I keep saying, with all the water bodies that we have struck for treatment throughout the country, and these water bodies are affected one way or the other, especially illegal alluvial mining. And so if you look at the Pra River, for instance, we have 3 treatment plants dotted on the Pra, and they are all challenged as a result of illegal alluvial mining.
I'd like for you to say that again. Did you say you have 3 plants on the Pra River?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead. Say that for me again.
And we have 3 treatment plants on the Pra River. Okay, and all are affected by the alluvial mining upstream, because they do it upstream and it goes downstream. In some cases, they even mine just around the intake. So the Wasi treatment plant, for instance, has 2 intake points on the Pra River, and the Wasi water serves Takrady. And then we have the Secheheman plant, which serves Cape and it's also on the Pra River. Okay, so during the dry season, for instance, the water levels are low, and if the alluvial mining also takes place, then it affects them more because the water level is low, and then they stir up the soil with the water, so it becomes more turbid than when the levels are high. So around this dry season, it's really, really a serious challenge for us. So this is what we are facing now along the Pra River. Now, Daso in the Ashanti region, we are facing the same problem. Bonsa in Takwa, Konongo, and then in the upper west region, the black water is also challenged in the same vein. So it's a serious problem for us. Now, apart from that, for instance, in the Nawuni River, where our treatment plant is situated at Dalong, in the northern region, where we have struck water for treatment for the people of Tamale. It is not alluvial mining, or I could say alluvial mining because they are winning sand. Okay. Now, in winning the sand, they also muddy the water, so it becomes seriously turbid and it becomes very difficult to treat. So, for instance, you have struck a certain volume of water to treat, and about 40% of the water abstracted will have to go waste. So, apart from we wasting most of the water that we abstract, it means we also spend a lot of power energy in abstracting the water, and 40% will have to go waste. And then we may have to use a lot of chemicals, more chemicals than hitherto we would have used.
That brings me
cost of production very high.
Exactly. That brings me very vivid memories of 2013 when I did this work, which we call Trading Ghana's Water for Gold. We went across the regions in Ghana looking at the specific intakes for Ghana Water Company and how they're affected by Galamsey activities. Can you give me the cost, the cost difference, between how much, for example, it cost you to treat the water back then, say 2013, and right now?
Okay. I did not have the statistics for 2013, but after 2018, the cost of production for 1 cubic meter of water or 1,000 liters of water was close to 30 cedis. It was 28.3 Ghana cedis. Okay. While the PLC tariff at the time was averagely 8 cedis. So for every 1,000 liters of water that we lose more than 100%. In terms of revenue. So the cost of production is very high around this time. Now, when the water levels are high, the stability is quite low, although not too good. Okay, so for instance, we will have struck enough and lose just about some 50%, instead of about 40% of water that we are losing just at abstraction level, before we go through the treatment process and then it is pumped into the system. So at certain times, it makes it economically, it's not economically prudent.
It doesn't make business sense.
Yes, you understand. At certain points, it's not economically prudent to treat the water, because by the time you're done, you may have spent well over 50 cedis in treating 1 cubic meter of water.
Well over what? Over how much?
Over 50 cedis in treating a 1 cubic meter of water.
50 cedis? Did you say you would have spent over 50 cedis to treat?
Yes, in certain treatment plants, yes. And more expensive to treat water in Bosmase or Dawase or Secheheman or Daso or Konongo or the Upper West region. You understand?
Yeah.
So averagely, it gets to about 28 cedis or close to 30 cedis. But if you have to look at the individual cost of production at individual treatment plants, you realize that it's far higher in some areas.
I'll come back to you, but let me bring Daryl into this conversation. Daryl, you've been interacting with people who live around these areas. Yes. What do they say as far as destruction of water bodies and the effect of destruction of water bodies on their lives are concerned?
I think the immediate thing is that most communities who don't have access to pipe-borne water really have to go they have to struggle to get water. Some will have to patronize a sachet water, buy these Vortic, Everpure, all of these brands that are out there. And that's the challenge. And most farmers who used to just go to the farms with their bowls or gallons hoping to fill it when they get to the streams in their farms now cannot do that anymore. And that's, for me, is a big change in how livelihoods in some of these areas are also affected. So, but now they will need more money to buy water than they used to do, and that's very unfortunate. And aside that, if you go to most areas, if you are along the Enyinem areas, you see people also doing farming, and they are using irrigated water coming from some of these polluted areas, and that is also something you can think about. So we are talking about mercury and all these other side heavy metals that are in the water being used also for watering our vegetables and all of that. At the end of the day, when they harvest, they wash it nicely, bring it to the cities, we buy, not knowing what has gone on there. So these are certain things that we really, really have to be careful about. And I don't think that the measures we put in place should be one that is lenient. We need to show people that we need to have deterrent measures in place, not to really, I wouldn't say too much of high-handedness, but it should be deterrent enough for anybody to think, look, this is an activity you wouldn't dare do it.
Some people say it won't work anyway, but we have to look at the brighter side. And so we'll come and talk about the interventions that we can put in going forward. I mean, what can we do? There has been a whole national debate about this, and we're still 3 years down the lane, we're still here talking about the same thing. Mr. Stanley Mate, I want to finish with you so we can let you go, but have we started rationing water, because some people are complaining about it?
We are managing the distribution of the water. And we are doing so because
I couldn't hear you when you started. Could you please say that again?
Yes. What I was saying was we are managing the distribution of the water, especially in the western region, because instead of, for instance, 11 million gallons of water that our two treatment plants can treat or produce daily, we are only producing averagely 3 million gallons of water. And that cannot be enough for the population in Secondary Takrady. So the only thing is to manage the distribution such that some people can't get water on a particular day and then others can get on another day. So we have categorized them into three, and we are doing an even distribution so that with at least every part of the city can have access to some water in the week. We are also encouraging everybody to clean all receptacles that hitherto has been abundant, so that we can be able to store water. And then so in the event where the tap is not flowing, then you can resort to your storage.
Rationing water in the western region, but do the people know?
Yes, we have informed them, and it's a local arrangement. So we are using the local media, including public address system, so that we also have our text messaging that we are using, and then so our customers by now should be aware that on the days for which they're going to get water. But it's a continuous process, and so it's a fact. So we also keep using different channels in getting the information to them.
I suppose this is because of the season we're in, because of the Harmattan.
That is also a factor. And it is a factor because it has caused the reduction in the river levels, which makes it ripe for the alluvial miners. You understand? Because when the levels are low, then it's a good opportunity for them to have access to the alluvial soil, compared to when the levels are high. Okay, so the dry season has brought in low pressures in low levels in the river bodies, and that makes it ripe for alluvial miners. And
that's also affecting your intake.
And that's exactly.
Interesting. Well, do we have an idea when this will end? I mean, so that when will it end in the western region? And hopefully it's not going to extend all the way, to other regions, including Accra.
It's a bit difficult to answer this question because we only expect that there will be good rains with the very, very near future, so we can have very high levels and then we can abstract enough. Okay? Because we are unable to abstract enough as a result of the low levels, and then the siltation as a result of the siltation around the intake as a result of the alluvial mining. That is why we are facing this challenge. So when we are able to get high levels, then we can abstract enough for treatment.
How worrying is this?
Sorry?
I mean, how worrying is this phenomenon? I mean, is this...
Very, very, because if you look at population in the west, in secondary Takrady, and the demand for water is quite worrying. We all also know that it's the oil city now, so there are lots of investments going on in that area. The population is quite high. People migrating to that area in search of greener pastures and all that. So it's worrying when we are unable to get enough water for them, because you know the repercussions when there isn't enough water in the system. So we are very, very worried, and we are doing everything possible to send more tankers into that area, especially for the essential service providers, so that at least we can hold on the situation gradually and not see anything like an outbreak.
Okay. Mr. Mate, thank you so much for joining us in this conversation, and thank you for your time. Stanley Mate there. So if you heard him, he speaks for the Ghana Water Company Limited. What he's saying is that it's become much more difficult to process water and to pump it into our homes. It's become much difficult, it's become more expensive. And in the Western region, we're already beginning to see, they feel the effects. So people are not having water in their homes, so they've ended up rationing water. If you live in the Western region, I'd love to hear from you. You can send us a message. But I'm coming back to the interventions that you spoke about. You listen to the minister. He calls out the judiciary. He says that the judiciary is making the process really difficult. President Akufo-Addo has said it before, somewhere in August last year, indicated that it looks like we may have to take some discretionary powers away from the judiciary. But the judiciary, they look at the facts that you present to them and they make the decision. What's your take on this, bit of the conversation?
Well, I think there's been very good suggestions, not too long ago, suggesting that we should look at setting up environmental courts. We've been expecting that this will be rolled out very soon, but we've not seen that come to light. And for me, I think that is also a very big challenge to addressing the Galamsey man, because the issues go to court and they are handled just like any other case. But if we really want to send a message out there, we need actions, court actions that are really fast-tracked, swift, and so that people will see that if you go dig the land illegally, this is what will happen to you. So we need environmental courts. It was a good suggestion. We're waiting for it, but it never happened. So let's ask ourselves, what happened to that? And that's the whole idea also. The other thing is that I think there's also, people are confused between what is community mining and what is illegal mining. Sometimes you cannot even differentiate the two. I say abolish this whole idea of community mining.
Well, that's what we try to do, and we seem to have failed.
Yes,
because
so
people say so people will say it doesn't make sense that I have gold right outside my window, and you tell me not to go for it, but you can regulate the way that I go for it. Isn't that a better alternative?
Every resource in this country has got some regulation around how you can take it. So it's not because it's behind your window you can just go and take it. You need to go for the appropriate licenses from the Minerals Commission, and they give you the opportunity to take that.
So that's the point I'm making.
So that's why I'm saying that let's scrap this community mining. It's a program that is virtually spearheaded by government, who lead the communities, groups of people who go to anywhere, they identify the place and say, okay, let's do community. Virtually they go begging chiefs to make land available to do community mining. But in the current regime of getting licenses, you apply to the Minerals Commission and then they review your documents. So it's not something about a community mining program. People don't know the difference between what, and now everybody is doing Galamsey and saying that I'm doing community mining.
Okay, I'll come to the community.
Dressing up with the idea that, to let people know that it's community mining. And then you cannot, the minister
tell the difference. I want to understand this community mining before we wrap up on this conversation. But talking about environmental courts and how the justice system seems to be slowing down anti-Galamsey efforts, as the minister has said and as the president has said. Let's listen to the president make that point. And then when we come, I'll read some of your messages. Then we'll go and look at what this community mining is all about.
When you know that the activities that they're involved in are jeopardizing the very survival of our nation, I took the decision that that would be a betrayal of the trust that the Ghanaian people put in me on the 7th of January this year. And as a result, we established this committee within the government to design a policy for us, not just to stop it, to reclaim the land, to let our rivers work again, but also to see how we can figure a way for all these able-bodied young men who are involved in this activity to find an alternative livelihood. So it's a package. It's a package that we have designed to try and bring this menace to a conclusion. I've said it in the cabinet, and perhaps it's the first time I'll be saying it in public. I am prepared to put my presidency on the line on this matter. I've heard it being said that I should be careful. Many of these people voted for me, and if I continue this exercise, perhaps they will not vote for me again. If by the grace of God I'm in a position, my party allows me to go again, and I have the health and everything to go again, that I'll not get it again. And I'll say to myself, well, this is a choice that all of us have to make as human beings. You do what you think is right, or do you do what you think will allow you to get along? I think that you do what you think is right. That is what you're required to do.
So that was President Akufo-Addo. He had been president for not too long at the time he made this pronouncement. Well, Daryl, I want to take your thoughts on it. Usually we know what happens in this country in election years. He said that I will put my presidency on the line, and he got a lot of applause. Yeah. But this usually happens. We know how politicians say these things. But do you get the feeling from your interaction with government agencies, from your interaction with people on the ground, that in this election year, if we want to do anything at all about Galamsey, that will have the political will to do it?
Well, I was eventually going to come to that. The fact that this is an election year, and is also Galamsey, is something that we need to be careful about. I mean, it was a similar situation with Rosewood, where it was also election year. The previous government also, that particular, they really were, because they didn't resources to do all the campaign. So actually, we see the same trend. I mean, here, where it's election year, political parties need money. I even understand that both NDC and MPP have decided to work together on this, because you scratch my back, I scratch your back, where they are working together with their men on the ground, and this is worried. And I think that in this election year, it's going to be very, very difficult to deal with it, because people will just look away and let people do it. Otherwise, like, because you have heard, it is an issue of politics, and would people get the votes as need be. So people are looking at what is happening, and they are going to say that we are voting now, so let's allow people to do what they do, otherwise we might suffer for it and all that. Even constituencies, district, a lot of things are happening, and we're getting a lot of feedback from media men on the ground who are saying, look, this is what is happening, but sometimes we can't even talk about it because you are easily picked on. Okay. And I think that these are the issues we need to watch. And every society, that is why I was talking about inclusiveness of the process. How are we forming the committees on the ground? Who is on those committees? Are civil societies part of these committees, or is just government agencies, functionaries that are there? That is where we need to look at, because if you don't do that, we'll still have the same political capture of the processes. At the end of the day, they only take action that really benefit them, not looking at the bigger picture.
So I have a message here that's talking about the president's alternative livelihood. And I remember I had this conversation with then Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, John Peter Amewu, where they had the MIIP, I think. And that program was supposed to, you know, they actually stopped after when they banned Galamsey. They had all the people who were into small-scale mining to register, to get some license. What do you know about that program? The progress of that particular program, because that was supposed to be some sort of was part of the bigger picture that the president talked about. So you register if you are doing a small-scale mining, you come and register, and then there was also parts where they say some of those people in Galamsey were doing farming, they were being supported to do farming activities. How is it going? I mean, have you seen any of these things happening on the ground?
Yes, so we know that a few of these Galamsey workers were given some palm plantation to develop and all of that. But the thing is that it is overwhelming, okay? It was wrong communication to promise that you give these people in Galamsey jobs. It's not possible. Already the excuse that we're in Galamsey because we don't have a livelihood, and so we kind of like support them and say, okay, let's give them livelihood, they walk away from that, was really false communication. So the thing is that the fact that we have a resource doesn't mean we all should go taking it. And that is where the problem was. I mean, if it's an illegal activity, you need to call it as it is and get people to stop it. But you come and say, okay, all of you, we are going to fight just for you. That was too overwhelming. And I can say, even though government has done their best, they really cannot reach out to all the numbers out there.
Okay.
So, yes, they tried, but it's really not going to go that far.
Okay.
We need to really make the laws of the land work, because there are a lot of people who are also struggling day in hustling to make sure that things go well for them. Not everybody is in a pit.
Let me read some of the messages I'm getting here that we wrap up. This one says, after the state you put together, President gracefully deported Aisha Wang and the Rosewood Queen, are we not wise enough to know that these conquests would escalate? Richard from BC. Richard, so the point you're making is that this is happening. We're back to Galamsey because we have not seen punitive measures enough. And you use the deportation of Aisha Wang. And so I was wondering to find out from you what you made of the minister's comment about deporting these people, which is why he makes the case that we should be lenient when we're dealing with Ghanaians. But it's neither here nor there. You made that point.
And now we need to try these cases here.
Okay.
So you can't now be saying that we send them out and we should be lenient with Ghanaians. Why are we sending people out? The cases should be tried here.
All right, so I'm just going to wrap up and take your final comments. Let me see if I can take more of these messages. He says, indeed, this government is poised at addressing the issues of Galamsey, but we the people rather need to be citizens, not spectators, by exposing those who are involved in this criminal activity. Abdul Momo Wunam said this from Tamale. Abdul, thanks for watching. And this one says, to get water in Takrady has been very difficult for us since 1st January 2020. Ghana Water Company Limited has now has a schedule of sharing water in Takrady. Every 2 days, each area will get water and others won't get. This is from Kojo from Takrady. Kojo, thank you for sending that message in. But I think that as they have said, the Ghana Water Company has said they have had to ration water because their intakes have been affected. Not just by Galamsey, by the weather, because the weather is presenting an opportunity for the Galamseyers to now go and dig, and their intakes have been affected. The messages are so many, and I can keep going on and on, but you do know from the Western region example that this is really affecting us. And the earlier we did something about it, the better. You may be having water in your home, and so you feel it's not close to you. But look at what's happening in Takrady, and Takrady is not so far. Daryl, let me take your final comments on this.
Yeah, for me, I think that government's posturing on this issue is very, very important. You do not have to undermine actions that you have set in place to make sure you address Galamsey. And I have to say, government's action to even turn a watershed into a bauxite mine in itself is a negative posture government is sending out to the people. Because if you don't care, you don't expect people to also care about what is happening. Because everybody knows that, okay, there's money, why are we wasting our time? So government's pushing is very important, and we need to have deterrent measures in place. There shouldn't be anything like we should be lenient. Let's really deal with the issue as it is. Again, we need environmental courts. It needs to happen. But what is also important is that we need to make sure we get the community people involved. Right now, the DCIMs are only some political functionaries, state agencies, the same people who have sat aloof and these things are happening. We need to diversify these committees and bring in people, CSOs, several coalitions on the ground who are really there. And when we make the reports, they should take it up and make sure they verify and take action. Usually that is what is happening.
Right.
You report, no action is taken. I'm telling you, they know where all of these mining activities are happening. Where are the drones that we're supposed to see out there in the skies monitoring what is happening? I'm surprised we've not seen any drones being videos being aired anywhere by the ministry to tell us that we have the information.
We've been asking, but we've not had any answers yet. We'll keep asking. Daryl Bosu, thank you so much. Daryl is with Arocha Ghana, Deputy Director of Arocha Ghana. It's an environmental NGO. They have been fierce campaigners against mining of diamond in the Tiwa forest, but mining of bauxite in the Tiwa forest, and they have also been keeping an eye on Galamsey activities. Well, like I said, you may have water in your house today. You may be able to buy sachet water, but mind you, where they get the water from to make the sachet water is the same as where the Ghana Water Company gets the water from. Now, these water bodies, these intakes are being affected by illegal mining activities. It is up to us to call it out, to deal with it, like we did it 3 years ago, but perhaps deal with the gaps that we've learned from this process. And so we can have a sustainable system. I can't talk about this enough. We don't have all the time in the world.